Jade, it's such a pleasure to speak with you about Miller's Girl. I thought the film was so interesting, mainly because you're not afraid to really dive into the gray area and really explore that gray area within what happens within the film. What did you most enjoy about not having, like something over the top happen or an extreme happen, but, have these two sides explored and see this relationship that occurs, but it doesn't get like super illicit or anything, but you are left thinking about, were lines crossed, and there's a lot to explore there.
That's a great question. Thank you. I mean, this movie is it's a character study more than it is like a decree about anything. And I think that these situations happen all the time. And I think this is closer to how these situations actually happen than the capital V villain, capital V victim situation. Not that those don't happen, they do happen often. But I think at least in my experience, this kind of stuff is the stuff that gets talked about less. And these lines that are crossed are still crossed lines, you know? And so I wanted to explore I wanted to explore characters within that without being, I didn't need a massive tipping point because the tipping point is subjective to these characters. And I think that, this is all from Cairo's perspective. Cairo lives in a big mansion. Her parents are globetrotting. All of the books that she reads, the movies she watches are 18th, 19th, 20th century. They're inherently problematic because they sell the great lie of romance, you know? So when she comes into the real world and meets this person that she idealizes, she's wrong and she's not equipped to handle what he does. And what he does is reprehensible. I mean, he humiliates her, he definition gaslights her. But an isolated person with no concept of consequence. So of course her reaction to that, she's never experienced heartbreak before. Her reaction to that is going to be incredibly violent. Um, it's not intended to be, this isn't realism, like the movie isn't naturalistic. It's intentionally 3 feet off of the ground. It's intentionally supposed to feel like a dark fairy tale. Because I think young girls, or at least I was, deeply to terribly, ludicrously romantic. And there's a lot of horror in that. I describe this movie as a romantic horror. It's been called a thriller, which I think is misleading because I don't know that it's really a thriller. I think it's just a terrifying character study of people who make a lot of wrong choices and people who aren't the perfect victim or the perfect villain. The perfect victim, both of those things are, I think, kind of boring to write. I think they're boring to play as actors. But real people exhibit all of those things. Real people are morally and ethically gray. And so I wanted to have sort of the reality of that set in a world that was 3 feet off of the ground.
And one aspect that I've been thinking about since I saw the film was, Cairo's in this sort of small town, like you said, her parents are away, she's very much alone. How much of her situation do you think kind of comes from boredom and like not really
Hmm.
having something to do?
Oh, I mean, so much of it. I think she's in it. I don't, boredom is not the word I would use, but I mean, the word she uses is longing. I think she's desperate to be seen. In a Southern Gothic, every good Southern Gothic has a ghost, and that's what she is. And I think she's longing so desperately to be seen. She's so much smarter than everybody around her. She should be at like an excellent private school in the city, but she's at this. Now it is a beautiful school, but she's at this, country bumfuck school in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee. And so she's just not challenged in the way I think she should be. And I don't think she does anything out of boredom. I think she does it out of a real intention to feel something quite deeply. But she's also the type of character who, and I don't think young girls are given enough credit for this, but she's so intelligent that, and because she's so isolated, I think she keeps her emotionality as something that she holds almost in her hand, not something that's inside of her. So she wants so badly to feel the same way a ghost wants to, have flesh. Like she wants to feel and be seen. And it drives her to do things that, if she'd had any other experience or was equipped to handle any of it, she probably wouldn't have done. She probably would have been like, well, this is ridiculous. And what am I doing? This man is not it. But she doesn't.
And Jenna is Ortega is so great in this role, and it's such an interesting character for her to play. What did you like most about what she brought to the character of Cairo? And I just loved how perceptive and I don't think aloof is the right word, but emotionally kind of like distanced at times. She was able to kind of portray her.
Well, I'd always wanted this character. I don't want to say the birth of a villain because villain is the wrong word, but maybe the birth of an antagonist. I wanted to watch this young person watch their heartbreak sort of metastasize and then kind of turn into a bug. They kind of go through Kafka's metamorphosis. And so by the end of the script, Cairo is not the same person she was at the beginning. And Jenna, it's very easy to take Cairo and make her really like arch or really like melodramatic because the language is so heightened. But Jenna made it feel very natural. And even though she is sort of completing the transformation by the end of the film, you can still feel her heartbreak inside of her. There's still like, there are pieces of humanity that shine out of her. And I think it's very sad. I think it's devastating. I think she's also terrifying. Without any spoilers, there's the scene with her and Winnie where they're passing a bottle back and forth and there's a photograph and you watch her make a decision. You watch Cairo make a decision in that moment, and Jenna's whole face changes. The way she's looking at the whole situation changes. But what's astounding is that we shot the movie out of order. So she was able to make a choice in a scene way before we did the other scenes and carry it through. Like she's a savant. She's incredible.
And I found it really interesting the incorporation of Henry Miller, the author, into the story and her trying to emulate his style and that all the trappings all coming into the story. Are you a fan of Miller's work, or what's kind of your relationship with Henry Miller's work?
I'm a huge fan of Henry Miller and also Anais Nin. I could not recommend her. I wish I could remember the name of the book. It's her diary of their relationship, but they were both writers and I think that this diary is a massive influence on writing the script because they were both writers, very different writers. Henry's such a masculine writer, but he's got such a clever turn of phrase and he's so funny. I think he's quite charming. And Anais is like wrought iron. Like she's like curdling smoke. Like she's the cat that like slinks around your ankle. And so the sort of coming together of both of their works and the way they would talk about each other's work, I found so engaging. I think it's so romantic, and it definitely was an influence between these two characters. The work of Henry Miller's that's in Miller's Girl, the Under the Roofs of Paris, is not Tropic of Cancer. Tropic of Cancer is like an esteemed, he has these esteemed novels. Under the Roofs of Paris, he got paid. It was smut, it was intended to be smut. But even within that smut, I think his turn of phrase is so good. But Jonathan should have known better, and that's I personally, as a reader, think this is really I don't know fun if funny is the word, but Jonathan, when she says he sees that book on her desk, and then when she says she's going to write in the style of Henry Miller, he should have known exactly what she meant, but he didn't because he's incapable of seeing what he is.
And then my last question for you, you wrote the script and this was your directorial feature debut. I was curious if anything surprised you about just the entire process or what big lesson you learned throughout this, because this is handled so well, but that's such a huge first step.
Thank you. What really surprised me, because I was an actor and I'm a writer, what really surprised me is how much I enjoy directing. Directing feels more natural to me than any of the others, than writing or acting. I think writing and acting are incredibly hard. That's like blood magic. It requires a lot of bleeding to do. And directing requires a sort of objectivity to be able to get things done. And it felt like it felt emotionally safer than writing or acting did. Um, and I found that I think because I did those other two things, it was really easy for me to articulate what I wanted to see to our heads of department, to the executives, to the actors. And so the movie looks exactly like I had pictured it. Like everybody understood the assignment. Um, I don't know that I had any real like I wish I could say, I don't know that I wish I could say I had real challenges. I didn't. It was kind of an anomaly of near perfection, and I'm just so grateful. I mean, like I made I made a movie. Like I can't believe I made a movie, you know? Like it's you know, I'm still kind of I don't know, just a little twinkly eyed about it because it happened and I had these just the most incredible cast and crew and executives and I'm just thrilled. I'm just thrilled to shit.
That's wonderful, and you should be, and there's so much to be proud of here. So thank you so much for your time, Jade, and congrats again on Miller's Girl. I really enjoyed the film.
Tyler, thank you so much. It was really lovely to meet you.